Hey y'all, I'm Derek and welcome back to 31 Days of Found Terror. Well, we are over the mid-month hump. It's all downhill from here. And today we have another short film. It's only about 40 minutes long, and it's called Encounters. And with a name like Encounters, I'm guessing either ghosts or aliens, which is normal for a found footage film. So let's see, is it ghosts? Is it aliens? Is it ghost aliens? Ooh, let's get started. Okay, I really wanted to like this movie. I really did. There were parts that I really did enjoy. And then there were some that took me out of it. So the provenance of this film is that they found a camera with this footage on it behind the characters Brody and Cassie's house 2 days after they disappeared. Disappearance usually means aliens, but I'm still not ruling out ghosts. Maybe it's a demon. Let's see. And it was mixed with footage that was found on their hard drive just to give a clearer picture. So it starts off with Cassie in a nursery getting a crib ready because she's pregnant and almost due. In comes her husband Brody, and he's carrying a camera making a documentary for the baby. And then the lights go out and Cassie starts having contractions. Then it cuts to Brody sitting in the kitchen facing a camera saying that he's unemployed and he's starting a video diary. And his marriage is on the rocks. It's apparently been 5 years since the incident. We're to assume, unfortunately, Cassie had a miscarriage. Very sad. But then he does something that really annoys me. He names the camera. No. It's like people who name their journals a specific name because they like writing letters and they don't want to say Dear Journal. It's just creepy to me. Don't personify the camera, and especially don't call them the name over and over again. There's no Pam. There is no Pam, only Zool. So Cassie comes into the kitchen to make some coffee, and Brody lets slip that she's been sleepwalking. And Cassie's a little bit bitter. So Brody decides he's going to start filming Cassie as she sleepwalks, and he comes up with a rig so she can actually wear a camera on her chest while she's asleep. Okay, we just saw, like, I don't know how many movies ago in Siren that there's actually GoPros you can actually connect to a harness. This looks a bit more bulky. It's got a light and everything, and I'm like, that's not going to be comfortable. It'd be like wearing chainmail to bed. That's not comfortable, unless you're into that sort of thing. But Cassie reluctantly agrees. So they go to sleep, and Cassie wakes up, and she's walking in her sleep in the middle of the day for night shot. All the night shots are day for night, and I'm not mad at that. I mean, I understand they had certain time constraints and all that, but it's just really bad. Just because you put a blue filter over something doesn't make it the middle of the night, especially when we can see the sun. Okay. Whew. Well, she's walking and she goes outside into the woods. Then Brody is looking over the footage from the last night and asking, why did you go into the woods? And do you remember anything about that? And of course, Cassie's like, why would I remember when I'm sleepwalking? She's got a point there. So she goes off to work. He goes, investigates the woods, and he just sees a clearing. And he's like, it's just a normal clearing. Okay, so I'm really leaning towards aliens right here. And then we cut to the next morning where Brody's coming into the kitchen with a camera, and Cassie has made a symbol in the middle of the night out of sugar on the floor. It's 2 concentric circles with 4 lines. I'm like, okay, crop circles and sugar. It's aliens. And then the next day, because they do a lot of jumping to the next day, Cassie has made the same symbol out of firewood in the backyard. So they're looking over the footage and we can hear something on the footage. And this is one of the major problems I have with this movie, is that most of the interesting stuff that they have, they're not showing us. They're showing our reactions to it. So it'd be like me, this is a reaction show you could say, looking this way with the TV turned up just high enough that you can hear a little bit of mumbling and me just talking about what I see on the screen. Because they're literally looking below the camera, like this. So it's like, Okay, fine, engage with your audience. You're literally making yourselves the focal point. So they're looking over the footage and we can hear, ever so slightly, the sound of an irate humpback whale. Ugh. Then cut to the next morning, and it turns out Cassie has done the same thing with the wood again. She's made the symbol and all that. And then the next day, we learn that Cassie's now getting nosebleeds while she sleepwalks. Brody wants to get help. Cassie's like, who's gonna help us? And so they look over the footage again. So they look online, and Brody has found this symbol cut into the cornfields of a farm in Iowa, which is like 2 states away. But we also get a little bit of an info drop that Brody wrote the symbol on the wall. So maybe he's starting to feel the same thing. Ooh, maybe he's getting a little bit of the sleepwalkies. Then in the middle of the night, we hear the irate whale sounds again. Cassie draws herself a bath and gets into it, completely closed, which apparently wakes her up. She opens up the shower curtain and Brody is standing right there, like completely zombified. So he's starting to sleepwalk too. Then that next morning they fight. Then the next day, they actually get in touch with this doctor online who knows a little bit about this stuff. And the doctor says they've been marked for abduction. Ooh. And so Brody is trying to get help from this guy, but in the middle of their conversation, he just goes offline. Oh, okay, that was convenient. Just enough information to get you scared, but not enough information to tell you how to stop it. Ooh. So the next night, we hear the whales. You hear the whales, they're angry tonight. And Cassie goes into the kitchen and grabs some sugar. And Brody's following her, and he watches her make the symbol on the garage floor in sugar. And then they stand at either side, both of them looking aimlessly out. The next morning, Brody is filming in the old nursery, and they have another fight. Cassie's explaining how she's exhausted, how she doesn't want to do this anymore, how she doesn't want to be filmed anymore. And she blames him for everything, and oh my goodness, there's acting, and there's crying, and there's acting, and there's crying. And then it cuts to 2 days later, where apparently nothing has happened in the last 2 days, so they think it might be over. So they're now talking about going on vacation and just starting over because this has been very stressful. Okay. So all their problems are resolved because the aliens haven't messed with them for 2 days. Sounds like something from Dr. Phil. Our marriage is in shambles because aliens won't stop messing with us. Well, have you ever asked them to stop? Sorry. The next night, Cassie runs into the room and says, we gotta go, get your keys. So Brody starts getting his keys and starts running out. But then they're immediately entranced by the angry humpback. And they walk into the woods, and then the camera goes dead. And then all we hear is Cassie saying, where are you? Where are you? Very echoey. And then, we get flashes of the aliens. And they look like Tor Johnson from Plan 9 from Outer Space with moss on his face. And you can see where the latex is coming off under the nose. I'm just like, touch this latex. Touch all this latex. So there's flashes of that. You hear a laser drill going off. You hear Brody screaming in the background. Cassie screaming. She's like, oh my God, stop. Where are you? Where are you, Brody? And 3 minutes of that, and then it just cuts to what I'm guessing is a flashback to the past, because it's a scene where Cassie is surprising Brody with the news that she's pregnant. And we know that happened 5 years ago, so it was a flashback to the past. Then it cuts to a title card that says Cassie and Brody have been missing and their investigation is still considered open. And that's the end of the movie. It was really decent. I mean, there were parts that really got on my nerves, like how most of it was just them sitting and watching the footage we just saw and asking questions about it. Because, you know, I just love when people try to explain what we just saw. But, I mean, I did laugh a few times. I really did, because it was really ridiculous. Especially the end part, where it's 3 minutes of blank screens with every now and again a shot of Tor Johnson with latex. And the faces they made were always so great. It was was like that for 3 minutes, in and out. I mean, the acting was decent. It was a little bit theater when they were arguing, and especially when Brody was crying, you can tell he was an actor. But all in all, I'm not mad at it. It was a nice little reprieve. Have you seen this movie? If you have, leave me a note down below and tell me what you thought about it. And of course, if you haven't seen this movie, it will be linked in the description. So, that's it for this episode of 31 Days of Found Terror. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. And come back tomorrow for another found footage nightmare.